Namaste everyone. Good evening. Thank you yesterday for the wonderful session and wonderful response that we got yesterday from all of you. And Kishori Gadre ma'am was an excellent speaker and she has always been our mentor uh, throughout my journey. So let's start our session today. And today I want to start with a small story, as in where I heard the name agrotourism. So I'm a botany graduate, and I was in my last semester, and we had this external examiner coming in, and he asked me a question. So, Dipti, after graduation, what would you like to do? And very promptly, I just answered, I'll be doing agrotourism. And trust me, I had no idea what agrotourism was. Maybe I must have read some article or somewhere in newspaper and somewhere that you know there is this term called agrotourism. So he asked me the next question, like, what do you mean by agrotourism? Because we never heard about it. And as if like I'm an expert, I just gave an answer. It is about conserving our nature and our rural concepts and etc. And he was quite impressed with it. And then I came out and everyone asked me that, what is this agrotourism? I was so surprised that even I don't know what is agrotourism, but yes, probably it came in my mind because I have this rural background of agriculture, family, and etc. So next day, and I think it just ended over there. And then I further went for my further studies, and I came back to India. And in between, that term was somewhere lost. And then I came to MTDC, and I met our sir, Mr. Panduram Taure. And again, I came up with this word called agrotourism. And I was like, oh my God, this is the same term which I had just used very randomly during my Viva. So, and that is how I started knowing this person. So, let me give a quick introduction of our eminent speaker today. Panduram Taure is very famous around the world with the term as father of agrotourism. And it is totally acceptable because he has been working on this concept for more than 18 years and has been a core committee member for government of Maharashtra, as well as representing himself at India level as well as international level. And he has been helping our government to create the policies for agrotourism and homestay. He is a founder and director of the organization called Agrotourism Development Corporation, and he has his own agrotourism center at Baramati. He has been representing the state of Maharashtra and India at international conferences and has been a keynote speaker at various countries. He has won several awards. One of the few awards I would like to mention is that he has got awards like National Innovation Farmer Award, Sustainable Tourism Award at Mexico, Wild Asia Responsible Tourism Award at Malaysia, Global Responsible Tourism Award at London, and I think the list will go on and on if we start counting his awards. So let me get back to him and introduce him and welcome him and ask him his question about what was his journey about getting into agrotourism. Over to you, sir.
Namaste Dipti and Aniket. And to start with, I'm thankful to Soulful Journeys for giving me this opportunity to come on live at Facebook. And I will try and speak with the soul, with Soulful Journeys. And let us see how it unfolds my story. To start with, see, I belong to hardcore farmers family with six uncles and uh, two attyas, and almost I am the first or the eldest in the next generation, and with almost around 20-25 people staying together at in the village called Sangvi in Baramati. Uh, and the childhood was like this because uh, early childhood was in the Jilla Parishad school at Tavre Basti, and then journey started from there to Baramati Tehsil, and from that Tehsil it came to Pune. And when I was studying in Pune, uh, my father, I salute my father because even though he is a seventh standard pass student in those days, he wanted me to study in English medium school. And today I am thankful to him because at least because of his vision, I can speak a little bit English with you people. And and that is how during studies in Pune, I started working in the company called Eureka Hobbs. And from Eureka Hobbs, we shifted to tourism sector with Sterling Resort, almost around 2 years tourism experience. And that moment, I thought, now when I have tourism experience, and the other side is the farmer's background, until that time, everybody knows that the farmers and their life is not at all sustainable. I mean, nothing is guaranteed. I mean, income is not guaranteed, employment is not guaranteed, livelihood is not guaranteed. And that is the reason next generation of the farmers, they never wanted to stay on the farm. And that moment, I thought, how can we, add income, employment, livelihood to the farm, to the traditional farm? And that is how, being a tourism employee of 18 years, that tourism knowledge and the farming knowledge, I thought, can we add this? And then we started searching on Google, and then we thought, Australia, USA, European countries, they are ahead of us, and they were actually doing agri and tourism together, called, sometimes they call farm tourism, sometimes they call agro tourism, sometimes it is agri tourism, farm stays, rural tourism, village tourism, a lot of definitions, and world over it is. But and then I thought, can we do this in India? And then in 2003, we did a market survey whether this kind of tourism activity will have a demand in India, or particularly in Maharashtra. And then we did a survey with sample size of 2,440, and that cross section of the society. And then questions were, whether do you have relatives in the villages? Have you visited them? And then the third question was, have you seen the sugar factory? Have you visited the dairy farm? Have you actually climbed the trees? A lot of questions. In fact, 25 questions were there. And the last questions were, if at all, this kind of experience, if we give you, whether you would like to enjoy it or whether you would like to go for it. Then how many kilometers you would like to travel? 0 to 50, 50 to 100. How much money you would like to spend on this for one day, one or stay? And when you want to do it, within 6 months or next year or that. So conclusion was, you will be surprised, in 2003, 43% of the urban citizens, they don't have relatives left in the villages. So if this, I'm talking about in 2003, now it is almost 17 years later, Maharashtra is already urbanized 60%. If you talk about India, it is already more than 40%. So as and when the urbanization rate is going to grow, and this kind of holidays will have a demand. And nobody is able to stop urbanization. Urbanization, definitely it is going to grow. And if 43% of the urban Indians, they don't have relatives left in the villages, there is no question of visiting the village. There is no question of visiting the farm. There is no question of seeing the crops, I mean live crops, live farm. There is no question of visiting the dairy farm, sugar factory, jaggery farm. I mean, nothing at all. And then I thought, can farmers fill this gap of a relative? Can a farmer be a relative for the urban citizen for 1 or 2 days, so that when he comes to him, he can show the farm, he can show the village, he can show the agro process industry, and he can also show him the rural or village culture. And that is how the agritourism was born in 2003.
Okay, wonderful, sir. I think unconsciously, even me, when I was a child, because I come from the place called Alibag in Raigad district, and we have this farming, we still do farming at our back end. And somewhere, maybe this term was not coined, I can say, but we used to still do it in, the 90s times, where my dad used to invite all his urban friends, let's go to my village, let's enjoy on the farm. And then we used to take them to our rice fields and show them that how we do our farming, and collect all those vegetables and let them actually do the plucking of vegetables. So they used to be so happy. And somewhere, even after they come back, they used to be like, we want that vegetables which are so fresh. We don't want vegetables from Mumbai. And I think that was very much a concept of agrotourism. And that time, probably a lot of people still had native place. And as you say that now, things are changing a lot, and even villages are trying to get urbanized, and people are losing out that entire culture of village as such. And it has been developed so well in certain parts, absolutely. And so, but I have observed that it is too much prevalent, or in a way, it is quite developed in Konkan region, but it is still lacking somewhere in the western parts of Maharashtra. And do you think, is there any particular reason that it has not been developed there? Because I think even western Maharashtra has a lot of beautiful culture, a totally contrast to what we have in Konkan. Their food culture, their types of crops they grow, and the type of houses they have. And I think it is a really a difference that we can observe when we travel to these places. And so what do you want to talk about that?
See, basically, agritourism, who can do agritourism? If there is a need for income, if there is a need for, sustainable income and employment and livelihood. So, agritourism, when we actually wanted to promote agritourism in 2003, we thought that it is beneficial for the small farmers with around 2 to 5 acre of land. Because in India, 89% of the farmers belong to small and medium category, or small and marginal farmers. Out of that 89%, almost 80% farmers depend on rain for the irrigation. So, if can we, this 80% of the farmers, can we show them how agritourism can help them? Now, when you talk about Konkan region, the farmers are very small, yes, but the land is divided into small area. Let's say 1 gunta, 3 guntas, 5 guntas, 6 guntas, and it is not on acres like 5 acres, 6 acres. So small आपल्याकडे आपण जसं कोकणामध्ये खाचरं म्हणतो, तर तशा खाचरामध्ये ती डिवाइड झालेली जागा आहे. आता प्रॉब्लेम इज every person from the individual families in Konkan region, he is either in Mumbai or he is either in Pune for jobs. So there is a sustainable income coming from the urban cities in Konkan region. So, and because Konkan is natural, it has a natural significance or natural history or whatever, natural landscape. As it is, people are traveling to Konkan region. So there, the bed and breakfast, न्याहारी आणि निवास, ही जी योजना आहे, ही जी योजना म्हणण्यापेक्षा तो जो कन्सेप्ट आहे, तो तिकडे खूप फुलला आणि इट फ्लरिश्ड. because the local person has to give only the bed and the breakfast or the whatever meals, and as it is, there is no called as a conducted tours, or the farmer or the host doesn't have to do that in Konkan region, because people know the Konkan region and they travel on their own. So that tourism you can say as the people visiting the beaches, particularly in Konkan region, and there are very less tourists who want to go and see the farming in Konkan. They are either go to eat fish, to see the beaches, and enjoy that atmosphere and natural beauty. Agri-tourism little bit differ from that. Why a farmer want to do agri-tourism is because if you, I mean, the today's problem is there is no price for the produce of the farmer. I mean, as you know, I mean, 2-3 days back, you also have heard from me only, because the farmer's life depends on three most important things. That is rain, produce, and price. So these three things is not in farmer's hand. Now government has changed the rule. Farmer can go and sell his produce directly to the consumer or directly to the customer. That rule has been now changed. But how long a farmer, individual farmer, can go and sell his produce in urban cities? If he does that, his farming will be, remain idle. So either farmer has to travel in urban cities to sell his produce to get the price what he wanted, or the urban citizen has to travel to village to get fresh produce and fresh agricultural produce. So which is quite possible. As it is, the urban citizens as a tourist, they travel for holidays. Every weekend they go for holidays, every beaches, they go for hill stations, they go to forests, they go to different places. Similarly, they can come to the farm. Now once they come on the farm, they can see the crops, they can see the farm, they can see the village culture, and they can also visit the natural or historical places nearby to that village. And while coming back, they can buy fresh produce from the farmer, grains, pulses, cereal. They can also buy crafts and handicrafts from the rural artisans. They can also buy homemade products from the self-help groups, women in the villages. So this can happen, and that is how in Western region, you said why it is not flourished in Western region, because if you take example of Kolhapur, Sangli, these two district places, there is enough water, the land size is huge, soil is good, and in Western Maharashtra, there are 165 sugarcane factories. If you talk about Kolhapur, Sangli, Satara, and Pune district, Nagar district, this western part of the Maharashtra has 165 sugar factories. Now imagine 165 sugar factories, they need sugarcane. So all these factories is been, controlled by the politicians. So politician doesn't want farmer to go away from sugarcane. And if he goes away from sugarcane, he will not be a member of the sugar factory. And so politicians are giving, what I'm saying is, this is a carrot of sugar factories to the farmers in Western Maharashtra. So that is why they are not going away from the sugar. I just want to give economics of the sugar cane. For example, 1 acre of sugar cane, it requires 55 to 60,000 rupees expenses. Okay. The income from 1 acre farm, 1 acre sugar cane, is approximately around 1,50,000 rupees or maximum 2 lakh rupees if the sugarcane factories gives good rate. So this farmer is getting after 18 months. And why 18 months? Because if the government body or the governing body is good, then only 18 months. If the government body is not good, then it is 2 years, 2.5 years. So imagine a 1 acre farm, net profit is approximately around 80,000 rupees to 1 lakh. So if a farmer has 10 acre farm, sugarcane farm, he has 10 lakh rupees. And if there are, let's say, 5 members in the family, so 10 lakh divided by 5, it is 2 lakh rupees for 2 years. That means 1 lakh rupees a year. So 1 lakh divided by 12, it is hardly 8,000 rupees. 8,000 divided by again 30 days, it comes to hardly not even 150 रुपये, 150 रुपये सुद्धा येत नाही. मग त्याच्यापेक्षा रोजंदारीने गेलेलं बरं. म्हणजे रोजंदारीला आता काय म्हणतो आपण मनगरेला ज्या आपल्या जॉब्स आहेत ना गव्हर्नमेंटच्या, तिथं 300 रुपये हजेरी झालेली आहे. सो बट farmer doesn't want to come out of it. Farmer doesn't want to try something new. And today we have 628 farms which are affiliated to our organization. And on an average, every farm is getting the income of 7 lakh rupees to 8 lakh rupees on annual basis. And how much is the land share? It is 1 acre, 2 acre, 5 acre. And this income he is getting on weekly basis. Every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, people are coming there. People are enjoying the village. They are buying the produce from there, and every weekend he is getting the money. So that money he is utilizing for the development of the other farm, his own farm. And that is how Western Maharashtra farmers are behind sugarcane. They don't want to come out of sugarcane, and that is the reason most of the farmers are not looking agritourism as a sustainable model for income and employment. But definitely, yes, if I give the statistics of 628 farms, out of that 213 farms are in Pune district, agritourism centers. 150 is more than Satara district, but Satara district is the east side of the Satara, which is depending on the rain and everything. Mahabaleshwar and Vai Taluka has at least around 40-45 agritourism centers. So people are looking at it, but not much, as you said. Western Maharashtra is still to develop and look at agritourism.
Right, so I think along with crops, there are so many other factors that people can actually learn when they go on, such farms. I think it should not be restricted only to the produce, but there are a lot of things which go far beyond the produce. So, for example, when we talk about why sugarcane or why rice and why wheat, and there are so many things we can learn that, what is the climate of that area, what is the soil type, which month of the year are we doing? So, are we doing a Rabi crop or a Kharif crop or a Jadi crop? And then also we can understand that the food culture, so what they produce and, how they eat it, and then what are their, how they, the nutrition. So I would say that every village knows their own techniques of, having their nutritious food. So everyone has their own different cultures and traditions. And I think even our festivals are based on these type. I think most of our Indian festivals are based on agriculture.
Correct.
Like, when we have our when is the harvesting season, and when we go and actually sow the seeds, and everything is based out on nature. So I think people can not think just about the crops, but they can think of the other aspects also, that let people know that why we wear this dress, why we have this particular food, and what are our festivals, and that can be also an added attraction to people rather than just crops in the theme. What do
Correct.
you think? Yeah.
See, basically, when you go to the farm, the 365 days is the activity on the farm. Sometimes farmer is sowing the seeds, sometimes farmer is harvesting, sometimes even if a cow gives birth to the calf, is also an event on the farm. So people can come, because working in the farm is also a different kind of experience. Like, for example, if you take one, as far as experience is concerned, what I can tell you is, see, when the tourists come to my farm at Baramuti, I don't have any artificial activities on my farm. I don't have swings, I don't have saw, jigsaw, I don't have anything. whenever the tourist comes to the farm, after breakfast, we traditionally welcome them with like this cap and the tikka. And when they come to the farm, after breakfast also we have, like limited menu, 1 or 2 items, which is, prepared by the self-help group women from the village. There is no trained chef on my farm. So after breakfast, we take them to the farm tour. Now, in that farm tour, we give them the what I'm saying is information about various crops and then working in the farm. म्हणजे लिटरली त्यांना ज्वारी काढायला लावणे, तिथं खुरपणे, त्यांना गाई म्हशी धुवायला लावणे संध्याकाळी धारा काढताना, त्याच्यानंतर विहिरीमध्ये पोहण्यात आलं, सुरपारंबे आल्या किंवा विट्टीदांडू आले, गोट्या आल्या, भोवरा आले. मग हे सगळं त्यांना आपण ज्या वेळेला करत असतो, इट इज नॉट ओनली अबाउट information, it is the live experience. Where I always tell the tourist or the farmer, today's generation, they go for, triple E formula of tourism. Now, what is triple E formula of tourism? First is explore, second is experience, and third is enrichment. Now, when the tourist comes there, he explores various crops, various culture, various experience, and then he experience. म्हणजे तो जो म्हणजे काय काय कुठे कुठे आहेत तो आपण एक्सप्लोर केल्यानंतर इमर्शन आणि एक्सपिरियन्स, म्हणजे त्या एक्सपिरियन्स मध्ये तो नाहून निघतो. आणि मग नाहून निघाल्यानंतर त्याला त्याच्यातून एक अनुभूती किंवा प्रचिती मिळते. उदाहरणार्थ, माझ्याकडे ज्या वेळेला फार्म मध्ये पर्यटक आले होते एकदा, मग त्यांना ऊसाची लागवड कशी करायची हे मी त्यांना ज्या वेळेला दाखवलं, त्यावेळेला मिस्टर भागवत म्हणून सिटी बँकेचे व्हाईस प्रेसिडेंट होते सिंगापूरला. आणि मग ते आल्यानंतर आम्ही त्यांना ऊसाची लागवड करायला सांगितली. म्हणजे लागवड, ते ऊसाचे दाबा, ते टिपऱ्या दाबा, ते खंडक्या त्याच्या करा. आणि मग एवढं सगळं झाल्यानंतर मला ते म्हणाले की मी आज जवळजवळ 50-55 वर्षाचा आहे, एवढ्या दिवस झालं साखर खातोय, परंतु ऍक्च्युली ऊस कसा लावायचा हे आज तुमच्याकडून आम्हाला कळालं. म्हणजे हा अनुभव जो आहे, असे बरेच अनुभव आहेत. म्हणजे एक तर अनुभव मी तुम्हाला सांगेन की शाळेची सहल आमच्याकडे आली होती, आम्ही त्यांना ऊसाचं गुऱ्हाळ दाखवायला घेऊन गेलो. आणि मग ते नेहमीप्रमाणे सगळीच मुलं त्या गाईडचं किंवा आमचं ऐकत नाहीत. काही मुलं इकडं तिकडं हुंदाडत असतात, काही मुलं सिरियसली त्या बघत असतात सगळी प्रोसेस. आणि मग आम्ही सांगत असताना मी त्यांना अशी एक 5 किलोची गुळाची ढेप दाखवली की मुलांना सांगितलं की आता आपण ह्याचं सगळी प्रोसेस बघणार आहे. एक मुलगा जो ऐकत नव्हता तो लांबून पळत आला, मला म्हणाला, पांडू काका हे काय आहे? म्हणलं, बाबा गुळाची ढेप आहे. मग साहेब मला म्हणला, बघा हे गुळाची ढेप एवढी मोठी, ह्याचं झाड केवढं असेल म्हणले. म्हणजे गुळाच्या ढेपीला त्याला माहितीच नाही की गुळाची ढेप तयार होत असते. अशामुळे हा जो अनुभव आहे की हे प्रत्यक्ष जे बघणं आहे. मुलांना चिखलात खेळणं, मुंबईच्या मुलांना 10-10 वर्ष 15-15 वर्ष पायाला माती लागत नाही. आता ह्या मुलांना जर आम्ही वावरामध्ये नुसतं पाणी सोडून दिलं आणि मुलांना चिखलात खेळायला लावलं तर छानपैकी ते चिखलामध्ये खेळतात, छानपैकी पाण्यामध्ये खेळतात. आणि पुणे मुंबईला हेच मडबातला 5,000 रुपये घेतात. म्हणजे असं जे हा जो अनुभव आहे चिखलात खेळण्याचा, चिखलामध्ये मातीचं त्यांना बैल बनवू द्या, मातीचा गणपती बनवू द्या, मातीचं सगळं त्यांना काय घरटं करायचे करू द्या. आपल्याकडे तुम्ही वाळूमध्ये कोकणामध्ये गेल्यानंतर त्या बीच वरती ते सगळं वाळूचं घरटं वगैरे करतात, घरं करतात. तसं आम्ही यांना चिखलामध्ये त्याची घरटी करायला देतो. नुकताच आता बैलपोळा झाला, तर बैलाची म्हणजे मातीची बैल कशी तयार करतात बाबा, मातीची कसं करतात, हे सगळं त्यांना मुलांना ज्या वेळेला प्रत्यक्ष अनुभव करतात. मुंबईच्या पुण्याच्या लोकांना काय काय वेळेला लाईट गेली हे माहितीच नसतं, लाईट जाते हे त्यांना माहितीच नाही. मग तिथं आल्यानंतर ज्या वेळेला लाईट जाते तर आम्ही मुद्दामून सगळ्या त्या चांदण्या वगैरे सगळं लोक बघतात. माझ्याकडे तुम्ही बाथरूम मध्ये आल्यानंतर माझं बाथरूम वरती ओपन टू स्काय आहे, त्याच्यामुळे तो जो निसर्गाचा म्हणजे लोकांना म्हणजे पचनीच पडत नाही की बाथरूमला वर्ण पत्रा किंवा काय म्हणजे क्लोज कसं नाहीये. म्हणजे आम्ही लहान असताना आमच्याकडे मराठी म्हणजे गावाकडे नाहणी हा असा कन्सेप्ट असतो. दीप्ती तुला पण माहित असेल शेतावरती की घरी गावामध्ये नाहणी हा कन्सेप्ट असायचा पूर्वीचा. ती नाहणी आम्ही तशीच ठेवलेली आहे त्या रूम मध्ये. आमच्या म्हणजे ते बटणं जे इलेक्ट्रिकल आहेत, आम्ही ते काळी बटणं होते खटखट वाजायचे बघा. ते आलेले पर्यटक बऱ्याच वेळेला ते बटणं वाजत बसतो, खट 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 खट, ते काळी बटणं असं ते गोल, मला आठवत असेल. आमच्या रूम मध्ये कपाट नाही आहेत, आम्ही त्या खुंट्या केलेल्या आहेत. 3 बेड आहेत, त्या 3 बेडला एक एक खुंटी. मग तुम्ही तिथं पिशवी अडकवा किंवा तुमचे कपडे अडकवा. आणि एक देवळी केलेल्या, 3 देवळ्या आहेत. मग एका बेडला एक खुंटी आणि एक देवळी. तुम्हाला मोबाईल वगैरे काय त्या देवळीत ठेवायचा देवा, प्रत्येकाला एक एक देवळी आणि एक खुंटी दिली. नो कपाट, नथिंग. साध्या फरशा आहेत, शहाबादी ज्या फरशा असतात रूम मध्ये, तशा आम्ही रूम मध्ये फरशा बसवलेल्या आहेत. साधी खोली, साध्या गोष्टी सगळ्या. परंतु आलेल्या पर्यटकांना ते साधेपणा, म्हणजे आता काय झालेलं आहे की इथून पुढच्या काळामध्ये म्हणजे सिंथेटिक एक्सपिरियन्सला लोक जाणार नाहीत. पीपल विल गो फॉर ऑथेंटिक एक्सपिरियन्स. म्हणजे हा जो लोकांना आता खूप झालं काय, हे सगळं गोष्टी नको आहेत. जसं अनिकेत कालच्या लाईव्ह मध्ये सांगत होता की मुलांना, म्हणजे तिथं गावात आल्यानंतर शेतकऱ्यांच्या घरी आम्ही ज्या वेळेला पर्यटकांना घेऊन जातो किंवा गावामध्ये घेऊन जातो, तर पर्यटकांना सुद्धा डू आणि डोंट्स आहेत की फोटो काढायचा की नाही काढायचा, काय करायचं, कसं करायचं. तिथं काय काय ठिकाणी सारवलेले काय म्हणतो आपण त्याला, वटा असतो, त्या वट्यावर तुम्ही चपलीने चालायचं की नाही चालायचं. ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी गावामध्ये फिरत असताना तुम्ही काय करायचं नक्की, ह्याला डूज अँड डोंट्स आम्ही त्यात ठेवलेले आहेत. आणि मग हेच लोकांना जेवढ्या गोष्टी सगळ्या आवडतात. आता 26 जुलैला आपल्याकडे नागपंचमी आहे महाराष्ट्रामध्ये, 26 ते 29 जुलैला. आता नागपंचमीला महाराष्ट्रामध्ये पतंग उडवण्याची परंपरा आहे, किती लोकांना माहिती आहे? प्रत्येक माणसाला वाटतं की पतंग उडवण्याची परंपरा आपल्या संक्रांतीची आहे. अहो, पण ती संक्रांतीची जी पतंग उडवण्याची परंपरा आहे, ही गुजरात आणि उत्तर प्रदेश मधून आलेली आहे. महाराष्ट्राची परंपरा ही नागपंचमीची आहे. आणि म्हणून आम्ही महाराष्ट्राचा पहिला फेस्टिवल 2010ला महाराष्ट्राचा फर्स्ट काईट फेस्टिवल किंवा पतंग जत्रा महाराष्ट्राची म्हणून आता आम्ही प्रमोट केलेला आहे. आणि ती पॉलिसीमध्ये सुद्धा घेतलेला आहे. आपल्या टुरिझम पॉलिसी 2016 आहे. तर पतंग जत्रा म्हणून आम्ही त्याच्यामध्ये इव्हेंट्स विल बी प्रमोटेड बाय गव्हर्नमेंट ऑफ महाराष्ट्र टुरिझम डिपार्टमेंट. त्याच्यामध्ये तो पतंग जत्रा सुद्धा इव्हेंट आहे. आता त्या पतंग जत्रेला ज्यावेळेला लोक येतात आमच्याकडे पूर्ण माळरान आहे. आणि त्या माळरानावरती ज्यावेळेला येतात लोक पतंग उडवायला, आम्ही त्यांना रेडीमेड पतंग आणि देत नाही असं. आम्ही त्यांना त्या बांबूच्या स्टिक्स असतात पतंग करायला लागणाऱ्या, त्या बांबूच्या स्टिक्स देतो, मग कागद देतो, मग डिंक देतो. तुम्ही पतंग तयार करा, तुम्ही त्याचा ते दोऱ्याचं ते मंगळसूत्र आम्ही म्हणतो, तुम्ही काय म्हणता त्याला माहित नाही, कन्नी काय म्हणतात ते, तर ते तुम्ही तयार करा आणि मग पतंग उडवा. म्हणजे तो जो अनुभव आहे, काल आपण एक्सपिरियन्शियल शेअरिंग म्हणत होतो, की हा अनुभव खूप महत्वाचा आहे. दीपिती, तुम्ही जसं म्हणताय की हा अनुभव आपल्याला लोकांपर्यंत जर दिला आणि मग त्याच्यामधून त्यांना अनुभूती मिळते. एक्सप्लोर, एक्सपिरियन्स आणि एनरिचमेंट. ज्या वेळेला अनुभूती मिळेल त्यावेळेला पर्यटक तुमच्या पाठीवरती शब्बासकीचा हात टाकून म्हणेल की बाबा शेतकरी बांधवांनो, जीवन तुमच्यासारखं असावं. नाहीतर आमचे म्हणे मुंबईला 12-23 ची लोकल, 12-30 ची लोकल, हे सगळ्या गडबडीत म्हणले आम्ही सगळं जगणं विसरून गेलोय. आणि जीवन तुमच्यासारखं असावं हे कधी होईल? त्यांना जर अनुभूती मिळाली तर. म्हणजे अनुभवातून त्यांना अनुभूती मिळणार आहे. आणि म्हणून अनुभव हा खूप महत्वाचा विषय आज दीप्ती आपल्याला बोलायचा आहे.
खरंय सर. ऍक्च्युली मी पण महिन्यात एकदा का होईना, आय जस्ट गो ऍटलीस्ट 2 days टू ऑन अ वीकेंड टू माय नेटिव्ह प्लेस. अँड आमच्याकडे अजूनही हे सगळं तसंच टिकलेलं आहे. तुम्ही म्हणता तसे खुंटा आहेत, ते छोटे कपाट आहेत, अँड आमच्या घरी बैल आहेत, गाय आहे, म्हैस आहे. अँड आय हॅव सीन ऍक्च्युली एक म्हशीने वासरूला जन्म देताना, आणि आम्ही त्याचं नाव गोविंद ठेवलेलं कारण तो गोपाल कालाच्या दिवशी झालेला. And it was so fascinating. And because I'm a botany student, आम्हाला हे सगळे सब्जेक्ट्स होते की शेती कशी करावी, how to do the grafting, and you know how to plant a particular tree. And it never felt like a learning process, कारण की मी लहानपणीपासून हे सगळं अनुभवत आली आहे. मी ऍक्च्युली शेतावर जाऊन हे सगळं बघितलंय. And it was always there in my mind, you know, so I didn't have to open a textbook and by heart it and actually learn it and you know go through the process. It was so natural to me. And then now I realize that all these things, when you actually do it by yourself and when you have experienced it all over your lifetime, it remains with you. then you don't have to go back and हे कसं करायचं, काय करायचं, हे नॅचरली आपल्या ह्याच्यामध्ये अनकॉन्शियस कॉन्शियस माइंड मध्ये ते राहतं आणि तो एक्सपिरियन्स आपल्याकडे कायमचा राहतो.
करेक्ट करेक्ट.
या आणि म्हणजे ते खूप असं छान वाटतं की आपण हे सगळं ऑलरेडी अनुभवतोय. आणि ट्रस्ट मी आता मी अशी वाट बघते की कधी आम्हाला मुंबईतनं गावाला जाता येईल आणि आय कॅन फील दॅट फ्रेश एअर ऑल ओव्हर अगेन and experience all this.
Basically, the farmers or the host on the farm, he should stick to his originality. If he forgets his originality, and if you again what I'm saying is म्हणजे शहरासारख्याच जर गोष्टी if he gets on the farm, the why tourist will come to you? Tourist is staying in best of his home at Mumbai and Pune. He has best of his AC in Mumbai and Pune. He has best of the swimming pool in his society. Why he will come and again want to have a swimming pool at your farm? Why you want to have a good AC at your farm? Whatever he doesn't have, to experience that, he is coming on the farm. So my appeal from my bottom of heart to the farmer is, stick to your originality. Don't take chira stone or sandstone, red stone from Konkan to Solapur and build a cottage there on the farm. So whatever the local architecture is there in Solapur, go around in 5-6 villages nearby to your farm, see the houses, how they are built, and engage the local artisans, engage the local person, resource the stones and whatever you want to require from the local resources, and build like that same houses. Your agritourism center should not be as an island from that village. It should not look as an island. It should look a part of the village, a part of that culture. So stick to that original culture. Give whatever you eat in the village, give that same meals to for the tourist. Otherwise, if you stick to like butter masala and butter chicken and roti and that everything, noodles and everything, so he will say, I have done mistake by coming here on the farm. So stick to the original and stick to what I can. Give him the authentic experience. That is what the idea is about farm, about village, about culture, and everything. Like suppose if you have a chukku farm, if you have a chukku, like chukkuchi baag hai tumchakade. So when you are actually doing a chukku farm tour, tell him about the chukku. Tell him about the economics of the chukku farm of 1 acre. Tell him about variety of chikkus grown in Maharashtra. Tell him about why a person should eat chikku. What are his food values of chikkus? So, and what are the value addition or what are the additional products can be made out of chikku? हे सगळं ज्या वेळेला त्या पर्यटका, when you tell about all these things to the tourist, so tourist, as I told you, he get enriched about knowledge. म्हणजे कुणाला माहित नाही की I mean there are 18 varieties of chikkus grown in Maharashtra. How many tourists know in urban citizen? You tell me. They might be learning about Google and everything, but when they come on the farm, like for example, when I visited one of the Bollywood veggies farm in my last tour in Singapore, so there they have 42 different varieties of sugarcane. Now grown on that farm itself. So when a tourist can come at some of the villages or some of the farm, and if they see 42 sugarcane at one place, definitely it's going to get enriched about it. म्हणजे आपल्याला फक्त शुगरकेन काय माहिती असतं, एकच 1 or 2 तेवढंच माहिती असतं. So similarly, when I mean for the tourist also and for the farmers also, like for example a Vidarbha farmer, now if he wants to give a cotton experience, now right from cotton to cotton seed to cotton, actually cotton to weaving, and actually making the thread by the charka. So the entire experience for the tourist is going to be enriching. Everything. I mean, for example, समजा आपल्या तुमच्या शेतावरती कुठेतरी झाडाला आगीचं म्हणजे मोहोळ लागलेला आहे. मग त्या मोहोळाचा तो मध हनी टू एंटायरली टेस्ट हनी टेस्टिंग कॅन बी डन ऑन द ऑन द फार्म. उदाहरणार्थ आपल्याकडे बाबळीचं झाडं असतात, आय मीन बबुल ट्री. सो हाऊ मेनी पीपल नोज द फूड व्हॅल्यूज ऑफ बबुल ट्री. म्हणजे त्या शेळीसाठी, फॉर द शिप्स, फॉर द ह्युमन बिईंग, for everything. I mean, a lot of people don't know about it. How many people know that the sparrow, they only talk in urban India, okay, like there are no sparrows left, there are no this left. But how many people or how many farmer grow actual bubble trees on the farm? No farmer grows bubble tree on the farm. But if you come to our farm there, you will see the bubble trees or बोरीचं झाडं, बाबळीचं झाडं, wherever it has grown, we have kept that. You will be surprised. We have removed one bathroom of one room because automatically the neem tree grown there. So we kept the neem tree and we broken the bathroom there. So this, because it is not only the experience. We have to cultivate the conservation of environment also. Like conservation of environment, conservation of village culture, conservation of it is. And see to that the economic benefit goes to the villagers, and then they will help you to keep or retain or restrain or maintaining the farm. Yes, Dipti.
Yes, sir. So when we are talking about environment, also when we go on these farms, there are so many insects. So for example, the smallest thing is kasva. So we don't even find them anywhere nowadays, and we have to go on a special tour. But I'm lucky enough to have been seeing it throughout my childhood in my village. But yeah, obviously it's going now. Yes, but then there are so many snakes we get to see, the scorpions. Then there are small animals which thrive on these farms, and all of them are very important to that entire ecosystem. So there are so many all of these insects which are depend on the trees, and then trees are depend on that. And we also have this system wherein we create that compound on our farm. So there is this rice block, and then what we call that there is a circumference where we plant all these trees, and sometimes they avoid natural. We don't even need pesticides or such chemicals to avoid them. It is the natural what you call block where all these insects won't come inside and destroy your farms. And so there is a huge ecosystem which we can find, and we can understand their importance in our everyday life. And yeah, and I think Aniket has a wonderful question which he wants to ask because he is into wildlife conservation.
Yeah, because when you said the environment and when you say the snakes, scorpions, and the ecology there, I want to give you a small incident here. Both of you know, and most of the viewers might be knowing, there is one of the biggest exhibition happens in the world at WTM, World Travel Market in London. And that organization gives away World Responsible Tourism Awards. Now, World Responsible Tourism Awards, there are different categories. So in that categories, they have, marks and, the mark sheet. So when I got first award in 2011 for WTM at World Responsible Tourism Award, in one category I got 10 out of 10 marks, and in one category I got 0 out of 10. I will first tell 0 because I was cooking my meals on the firewood. आपण चुलीवरचं जेवण म्हणतो. तर चुलीवरच्या जेवणासाठी I got 0 out of 10. But they are saying at one side you are saying environment conservation and one side you are burning the wood. So I got 0 marks there. Where I got 10 out of 10 is, first thing first, what I did on my farm was we dig the farm pond and we collected the rain. Whatever the rain comes out, the drops at my farm, we collect it at one place. And we collect every year almost on 2 crore liter of water from that rain. And that stone we have utilized for wall compound. It's only on stone. Nothing, no cement, no sand, nothing. So इट हॅज ओरिजिनल, म्हणजे त्यांना त्या जागा झालेल्या आहेत, त्या म्हणजे नुसत्या दगडावर दगडे भिंत बांधल्यामुळे अशा त्या कपारी तयार झालेल्या आहेत आणि त्या कपारीमध्ये विंचू, साप, सरडे हे सगळं त्या ठिकाणी तिथे राहतात. आणि मग आय गॉट 10 out of 10 because one of the examiner said, Mr. Tavre, you are not disturbed the local variety of these creatures and everything. So with that you are doing tourism. So here we are giving you 10 out of 10 marks. Like that, like Dipti was saying, like Aniket also is a forest person. So you know how to conserve and why to conserve the forest and why to conserve the local varieties of creatures, and then only it is possible to do tourism. Yes, Aniket, you wanted to ask me some questions.
Yes, sir. So I'll go back a little bit when you talked about the 3 E's of tourism, which was explore, experience, and enrich. So I do something which is very similar to agri-tourism, although I do it as a part of wildlife tourism. I would like to quickly share one image. I hope everybody can see that image. Dipti, can you confirm? Can you see the image?
No, it says that Aniket is, yeah, it's there now.
Yes. So this is something, this is an image from Maharashtra actually, but I usually do this experience in MP around the forests of like Panna, Kana, Bandhavgarh and all these parks. So at the fringes of all these parks, there are always smaller plantations, agricultural plantations. And in this, usually there's always a machan. So in central India, it is referred to as a machan. So the villagers usually stay overnight at this machan and they guard their crops from the crop raiders such as nilgai, wild boars, and even sometimes chinkara and smaller herbivores which come from the forest. So this is one of the experiences I like to merge with wildlife tourism. Although this is not pure hardcore wildlife tourism, this comes somewhere as a confluence of maybe agri-tourism where the farmer benefits. So when whoever's house we stay, so usually next to the machan, there's always a farmer's house. And so usually what we do is there are a couple of machans in the nearby field and maybe 1 or 2 people stay in each of these machans. And there's a farmer's house at whose house we stay, and we usually have a meal, also the dinner and the next day morning's breakfast. So usually this is an overnight activity where we have torches, where we have a binocular, we have a camera, where we sit and experience what it is like to live on the fringes of a forest, guarding a farm from wild animals. So since I'm done with this, I'll remove the image and I'll come to the question which I had for sir. So I am sure this sort of crop raiding, wherever there is a farm, I'm sure there is crop raiding and crop loss from nilgai, from wild boars, especially in this part of Maharashtra. So can you suggest some ways that you have used to tackle this problem? I'm sure there are multiple ways. People have built hedges, somebody has built an electric fence. Then there is natural deterrent. Somebody plants haldi in South India. They're trying to put very strong smelling plants as a hedge or as a compound to the main field so that the wild boars don't really enter. Can you suggest some things that you know?
No, Aniket, because see, I am not expert on that, but definitely because the government has come out with the schemes for solar fencing and a lot of live fencing also with other trees and other wild varieties of trees or आपण त्याला काय वेलवर्गीय ज्या वाईल्ड म्हणतो आपण जंगली रोप आहेत, झुडपं आहेत, झुडपाच्या कॅटेगरी मधली जी फेन्सिंग आहेत तर ते आलेल्या आहेत, पण आय एम नॉट expert on what can be done on that.
So what do you so like, for example, apart from sugarcane, if there is any other farm, what is usually used to protect the farm from any sort of wild animals? So do you have a problem in, let's say, Baramati where you work, do you have a problem of wild animals entering into your farm?
No, wild animals, we have there were a lot of chinkaras nearby to my farm,
Right, sir.
but see, chinkaras eat only the top of the plant, only top.
The fresh leaves, yes sir.
Fresh, ekdam fresh.
Yes.
So once they eat it, there is no guarantee that tree will grow again. So to keep away from them, what we have done is, आपल्याकडे विलायती चिंच माहिती का तुम्हाला?
राईट सर.
हा,
सो टॅमरिन.
विलायती चिंचेचं आम्ही कंपाऊंड केलंय आणि आम्ही तार कंपाऊंड पण करून ठेवलेलं आहे. So that is what basic we have done to avoid chinkaras. But we have planted 3 acres of teak plantation and teak forest. So, and we have entire 5 acres of farm. We have retained the grassland. In 5 acres, we have retained the grassland with all what I'm saying is Indian varieties of trees like वड आहे, पिंपळ आहे, नीम आहे. आणि ते 4 एकर we have done a agroforestry project. So that 4 acre, the entire 4 acre is for chinkara. So whenever they come and sit there, they eat the grass. One of our environmentalists, Dr. Mahesh Gaikwad from Baramati, so he advises us to keep the grassland, because if you keep the grassland, there will be insects on the grass. To eat that insects, birds comes. So when the bird comes, one more activity became our USP, because earlier there were no birds. Today the tourists can see at least 50 different varieties of birds in that agroforestry project.
Absolutely. And plus, it also acts as a pollinator with the insects and the birds coming around. Pollination will also, Parakan will also become easy.
So, म्हणजे अनिकेतजी, मला फक्त आता शेवटचे काही जे 5 मिनिटं उरलेली आहेत, मला फक्त 3-4 मिनिटं मराठीत बोलण्याची परवानगी द्या.
बिलकुल सर, बिलकुल सर. सर, वन लास्ट रिक्वेस्ट. तुमचं झालं की 2-3 प्रश्न आहेत विच वी वुड लाईक टू टेक. सो प्लीज गो अहेड सर.
ओके. सी बेसिकली कृषी पर्यटन हे फक्त पिठलं भाकरी इथपर्यंत सीमित नाही. प्लीज अंडरस्टँड दॅट फर्स्ट. म्हणजे शहरातल्या लोकांना किंवा शेतकऱ्यांना दोघांनाही असं वाटत असेल की अरे ऍग्रीटुरिझम म्हणजे काय, एक खोली बांधायची, लोकांना बोलवायचं, पिठलं भाकरी खायला द्यायची आणि संपला विषय, पैसे घ्यायचे. मित्रांनो आणि शेतकरी बंधूंनो, कृषी पर्यटन तेवढ्यापुरतं सीमित नाही. कृषी पर्यटनामुळे काय होणार आहे मी तुम्हाला सांगतो. आपल्या घरी पाहुणा ज्या वेळेला येणार आहे त्यावेळेला आपण आपलं स्वतः स्वच्छ राहणार आहोत. म्हणजे तुमच्या घरी कोणी पाहुणे येणार आहेत म्हणून तुम्ही बिन आंघोळीचं राहणार आहे का, तर नाही. तुम्ही स्वच्छ राहणार. तुमचं घर तुम्ही स्वच्छ ठेवणार आहे पर्यटक आल्यामुळे. तुमचं पर्यटक येणार आहेत म्हणून तुम्ही अंगण स्वच्छ ठेवणार आहात आणि तुमचं शिवार स्वच्छ ठेवणार आहे. आणि तुमच्या शिवारामध्ये, तुमच्या गावामध्ये पाहुणे येणार आहेत म्हटल्यानंतर तुमचं गाव स्वच्छ राहणार आहे. आणि म्हणून हे जे क्लिनलीनेस किंवा स्वच्छता विषय आहे, हा एका पर्यटन केंद्रामुळे तुम्ही तुमचं घर, तुमचं अंगण, तुमचं शिवार, तुमचं गाव स्वच्छ राहणार आहे. दुसरी गोष्ट, तुमच्या गावामध्ये पाहुणा येणार आहे म्हटल्यानंतर तुम्ही तुमच्या गावाचं जे संस्कृती आहे त्याचं जतन संवर्धन होणार आहे. तुमच्या शेतावरती कृषी पर्यटनासाठी पर्यटक येणार आहेत आणि म्हणून तुम्ही पर्यावरणाचं जतन संवर्धन करणार आहात. तुमच्या शेतामध्ये, तुमच्या गावामध्ये पर्यटक येणार आहेत म्हटल्यानंतर तुम्ही शेतामध्ये विविधता ठेवाल. म्हणजे असं नाही होणार किंवा तुमचा 5 एकर ऊस आहे तर 5 एकर ऊस किती वेळ पर्यटकांना दाखवणार आहात. आणि म्हणून तुमच्या 5 एकरामध्ये तुमच्या विविधता पिकाची असेल आणि तुमच्या सगळ्या गोष्टी विविधता असेल. मग छोटेखानी डेअरी, छोटेखानी कुक्कुटपालन, छोटेखानी असं छोट्या छोट्या गोष्टी, 10 कोंबड्या जरी ठेवल्या तरी पुष्कळ होतं, 1-2 गायी जरी ठेवल्या तरी पुष्कळ होतं. परंतु गायी गोठा असताना तुम्ही नुसत्या 2 गायी बांधून ठेवल्यात, 2 वासरं आहेत आणि बाबा हा आमचा गायी गोठा बघा, तर तसं न करता गायी गोट्याला थोडीशी रंगरंगोटी करा. एक समजा ती एक गाय असेल, तिथं बोर्ड लावा वरती, ही आमची सिंधू. पुढच्या गायीला लावा, ही आमची नर्मदा. सिंधू आमच्या गोट्यामध्ये ह्या साली आली, तिने 2 बाळंतपणं झाली, हे तिला 2 हे आहेत, एक आमचा हा बैल, हा हिची आई आहे ती, मग ही एवढे दूध देते. असं तुम्ही त्यांच्याबद्दल तुम्ही माहिती सांगा. नाहीतर तुम्ही जर सांगला की बाबा हे आमच्या 2 गायी, हे 2 आमची वासरं, चला पुढे, असं तर तुमचं 10 मिनिटात सगळं शेती बघून होणार आहे. तर याच्यामुळे, आणि दुसरी गोष्ट म्हणजे तुम्ही तुमचा कृषी माल तुम्ही सांगितलेल्या भावामध्ये पर्यटकांना विकू शकणार आहे. हा खूप मोठा फायदा होणार आहे. तुमच्या पुढच्या पिढीला शेतावर रोजगार उपलब्ध होणार आहे, तुमच्या संपूर्ण कुटुंबाला रोजगार उपलब्ध होणार आहे. गावातल्या महिला बचत गटांचे पदार्थ तुम्ही त्या ठिकाणी विक्री करू शकता. गावातल्या कारागिरांचे वस्तू तुम्ही त्या ठिकाणी, बैलगाडी असेल, लाटणं असेल, पळपोट असेल सुतारांनी केलेलं, गावातल्या कुंभारांनी केलेलं, गाडगी मडकी बैल असतील, छोट्या छोट्या गोष्टी तुम्ही त्या ठिकाणी विक्री करू शकता. म्हणजे एक कृषी पर्यटन केंद्र संपूर्ण गावाला पूरक व्यवसायाचं जाळं निर्माण करणारा व्यवसाय होऊ शकतो. हे तुम्ही अंडरस्टँड करून घ्या पहिल्यांदा. आणि आता हा प्रत्येक शेतकरी कृषी पर्यटन करू शकतो का? तर 100% कृषी पर्यटन म्हणजे काय रामबाण उपाय नाहीये की प्रत्येक शेतकऱ्यांनी येऊन उठायचं आणि कृषी पर्यटन करायचं आणि आता सगळ्यांनाच पैसे मिळणार, असं होणार नाही. कृषी पर्यटनासाठी महत्वाच्या गोष्टी काय काय आहे तुम्हाला मी सांगतो. फळती फुलती शेती, त्याच्यानंतर दुसरं गोष्ट म्हणजे की तुमच्या शेतामध्ये, तुमच्या घरामध्ये कोणीतरी 1-2 भाषा बोलणारा माणूस पाहिजे. कारण शहरातला माणूस ज्या वेळेला समजा हिंदी भाषिक पर्यटक आला तर तुम्हाला हिंदी भाषा कोणीतरी बोलणारा पाहिजे. इंग्लिश भाषिक आला तर थोडंफार इंग्लिश मोडकं तोडकं का होईना तुम्हाला ते बोलता आलं पाहिजे. आदरातिथ्याची आवड पाहिजे. नाहीतर काय होणार, अरे ह्याने एक चपाती जास्त खाल्ली बरं का, आता ह्याला जर थोडं कमी वाढा, तसं होता कामा नये. आदरातिथ्याची भावना पाहिजे. यू हॅव टू हॅव बॉटम अप फ्रॉम युअर हार्ट टू हॅव अ हॉस्पिटॅलिटी ऑन द फार्म इटसेल्फ. आणि ह्या सगळ्या जर गोष्टी असतील तर आय थिंक ऍग्री टुरिझम कॅन बी अ गुड supplementary and complementary business source, income source, employment source, not only to one family, but the entire village.
Absolutely, sir. So basically, a lot of people have this question in their mind that when we want to start up an agro-tourism center, is it a very expensive business? So do we have to actually invest like lakhs and lakhs of rupees? Do we really need to have acres and acres of land? Is there any minimum requirement of land that we have? So I think people have a lot of this things
Okay.
that they are interested, but then they are scared that shall we invest or should we invest, and how much to invest?
Okay. First and foremost, first requirement is you should have a farm. And mind you, agri-tourism is not going to give you that much income that today you have listened to agri-tourism talk here and tomorrow you go and buy the land and then you start agri-tourism activity. Don't do that. Agri-tourism is not going to give that much of income to you. Agri-tourism definitely will give you, good enough money, good respect in the society, and good livelihood and good employment to the for the farmer's family. Ata, when I say this, let's say for tomorrow, if you have 1 acre land or 2 acre land, not necessarily you should have 100 acre land and 50 acre land. So in 1 acre also, you 10-15 farmers can come together in that small village. You can form a farmers club that can be registered to NABARD. Now, once that 12 farmers comes together, some might be having, for example, a vegetable farm. Some might be having other crops. Some might be having different crops. So all 12 farmers can come together. Some might take care of hospitality. Some might take care of residence. Some might take care of farm tour. Some might take care of booking. Some might take care of promoting the farm. So this can be a joint or collective activity of the farm. It's not necessarily you should have 50 acre and 100 acre. Come together, form a farmers club. It can be women's farmers club also. It can be men's farmers club also, or the combined. The entire village can be promoted as an agri-tourism destination or a farm. Imagine, entire village. So the KVK can promote agri-tourism. Agricultural universities can promote agri-tourism. So like that, there is no underwritten rule that you should have this much of land, this much of what I'm saying is capital investment. Suppose, and my appeal to you is you start with the day tour activities. Don't immediately go to the accommodation. Day tour activity, what you will require? You will require a parking space whenever the tourist comes there on the farm. Parking space doesn't require lakhs rupees to have a parking space. Just do designated car parking. तुम्ही फक्की आपण म्हणतो, पांढरी फक्की मारून तुम्ही कार पार्किंग करू शकता. व्यवस्थित तुम्हाला पुढे कसं करायचं आपण ते बघूया. पण पार्किंग स्पेस, टॉयलेट ब्लॉक, kitchen block, dining area, not necessarily that the dining area has to have a cement concrete or kitchen has to have a cement concrete. तुम्ही साध्या पत्र्याच्या खोल्या सुद्धा तुम्ही डायनिंग किचनला करू शकता. टू स्टार्ट विथ लेट्स से 15 वाट्या, 10 ताट, पाणी पिण्याचं जार वगैरे असेल ते, आणि आलेल्या लोकांना तुम्ही टॉयलेट ब्लॉक दिला, पार्किंग दिला, जेवणाची सुविधा केली, तो दिवसभरासाठी तो माणूस चिखलात खेळायला तयार आहे तुमच्या. चिखला म्हणजे लिटरली नॉट मिनिंग चिखलात खेळायला, बट ही कॅन सी द क्रॉप्स, ही कॅन सी द ग्रोम अराउंड. दुपारच्या जेवणाची सोय करा आणि गोइंग बॅक. सो लाईक दिस यू रन युअर ऍक्टिव्हिटी फॉर 1 year 2 years. त्यातून तुम्हाला किती इन्कम मिळतोय, तुम्हाला आनंद किती मिळतोय. ऍग्री टुरिझम कुठलाही व्यवसाय आपण का चालू करतो की तिथून आनंद मिळावा. लोकांना आपुलकीने तुम्ही खाऊ पिऊ घातलं, तिकडे तुमचं शेत दाखवलं, तुमचं गाव दाखवलं, तर ते तुम्हाला तिथून आनंद किती मिळतोय. फर्स्ट requirement of to start agri-tourism is you should have a pride being as a farmer. तुमच्याकडे जर फार्मर म्हणून प्राईड नसेल, तुमच्या गावाबद्दलचं तुम्हाला, इफ यू डोंट हॅव अ प्राईड अबाउट युअर विलेज, इफ यू डोंट हॅव प्राईड अबाउट युअर कल्चर, how you are going to tell your tourists that I am a farmer and I have a land and I have the village and I belong to this village. So first and foremost is to have a pride in. आता हे प्राईड काय येणार नाही, कारण शहरातला माणूस जर गावात जाऊन 5 एकर 10 एकर जागा घेतली तर त्याला त्या गावाचे काहीही घेणं नसतं. तो फक्त बघतो की गावातले 4 लोक माझ्याकडे कामाला कसे येतील, गावातले बायका माझ्याकडे कामाला तिथं कसे येतील का खुरपायला वगैरे, आणि मग ते ऍग्री टुरिझम होणार. तसं करू नका. माय रिक्वेस्ट टू फार्मर्स अँड द अर्बन सिटीजन्स, बिकॉज अर्बन पीपल यू हॅव अदर इन्कम सोर्सेस इन द अर्बन सिटीज, बट फार्मर डझंट हॅव इन्कम सोर्सेस इन विलेजेस. सो तुम्हाला त्यातूनही जर मदत करायची असेल एखाद्या शेतकऱ्याला, सो बी अ पार्टनर विथ द लोकल फार्मर. यू गेट द मनी, आयडेंटिफाय अ लोकल पार्टनर और लोकल विलेज, and then you adopt that farmer or adopt that village, and then you run or you, what I'm saying is, develop a agri-tourism facility on the farm. So you being an urban citizen, you can promote that farm in urban cities. Tourist can come to the farm, farmer can take care of the tourist or he will host the tourist, and you can, however you want to share, keep the share with you can do that.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely. In fact, whenever my international friends come to India, the first thing I take them is to my native place, and I don't instruct anyone to do anything special, and I just let them be and let them go on that farm and just let them experience what is so natural. So we have some questions from our viewers. Mr. Manish Kulkarni would like to ask, in which region of India the agro-tourism is not yet prevalent, and what is the scope of agro-tourism in North India?
Yes. See, North India, for example, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and that 2 states have now is coming up with the agri-tourism policy, because I was one of the members to draft the policy for agri-tourism in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. So shortly, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar will start promoting agri-tourism. For example, states like, the 7 sisters, Meghalaya, Assam, other northeast region, they will also start promoting agri-tourism, because Assam, there is a Central Agricultural University. So that university is taking the lead to promote agri-tourism in Northeast, because 4 months back, I went to Assam on the invitation of Central Agricultural University to to sensitize the professors and the workers in agricultural field, to sensitize them further to the farmers about agri-tourism activities. So as a India whole, there is a lot of scope. As I told you, there is a lot of scope, and henceforth, because today, my sentence was, as an urbanization is going to grow, there will be more demand for this kind of agri-tourism activities. And people are now, if you talk about, because everybody, if you go back 100 years in India, everybody has come from the farmer's family. But today, that connection is lost. Now, people like you and me, we want to show our next generation what the farm is, and that is how they are going to take their next generation to the farm, and it will definitely will demand will increase. Karnataka also has come up with the policy now, agritourism. They are helping farmers in Karnataka. 33% subsidy they have announced there, and very shortly they will launch the agritourism policy in Karnataka. Gujarat is already there. Maharashtra is already there. Maharashtra have Maharashtra Tourism Policy 2016, and in that there is a vertical called rural tourism. In that rural tourism, there is a segment called agri-tourism. For agri-tourism, government of Maharashtra is helping a lot. One, that up to 8 rooms, there is no necessary to go for any non-agricultural certificate. Up to 8 rooms, the project will not be considered as commercial project, and hence there is no commercial NA certificate, town planning permission is not required in Maharashtra. Above 8 rooms, definitely the project will consider as commercial project, and then a lot of permission has to be taken there. Through us, government of Maharashtra also has in that policy declared from 5th standard to 10th standard, all schools have to take their kids for study tour or educational tours to the farms and agri-tourism farms. Because for that is the biggest benefit agri-tourism centers have got in Maharashtra. Imagine now, yesterday there was a result of 12th standard. So from Maharashtra, 16 lakh students have appeared for 12th standard exam. For calculation purpose, you take 15 lakh. So 12th is 15 lakh. That means 10th also there will be 15 lakh. 9th 15 lakhs. 8th 15 lakhs. So 5th to 10th standard, 15 into 5, 75 lakh students are there in Maharashtra who can visit agri-tourism farms. So imagine 75 lakh students divided by only 500 farms in Maharashtra. So no, I mean there is huge demand for educational tours for agri-tourism purpose. Because Nagpur students are not going to travel in Pune. So the school can take their students in 110, 150 kilometers radius. So my appeal to farmers is develop your agri-tourism center as an educational tour USP. So educational tours also, शैक्षणिक सहली ज्या आहेत महाराष्ट्रातल्या त्यांच्यासाठी तुम्ही डेव्हलप करा. And that is going to be a good benefit for the farmers. Yes, Dipti.
Absolutely, sir. So there is Mr. Jeetu Giri who wants to ask if in any hill area there is an agri-tourism center, if it has been started, and if yes, then where? So is it, so I think he means to say that it's just only in the rice fields that we have to do agro-tourism, or if there is a different landscape. So for example, hill stations or hilly areas where agriculture is. So is anyone actually doing it?
See, Mahabaleshwar Taluka and Vai Taluka, Mahabaleshwar is all hilly region. So Mahabaleshwar farmers are actually focusing on strawberries. So they have strawberry picking festival. There is a lot of, so on one crop of strawberry, a lot of farmers are doing agri-tourism activities in Bihar, particularly in Bihar village. So that the person who has asked the question, yes, you can do agri-tourism in hilly region as well. But you have to have some USPs. I mean, it is not that you have built the rooms and you are asking tourists to sit in front of the veranda and looking at the hills. It will not happen.
Yes. Sir, I would like to ask you that what new innovations we can do on this rural development and agri-tourism. So what can be new concepts that we can bring in? And as you said rightly, that it shouldn't be just about eating bhakri and pitla, but what else people can add into it?
See, I mean, there are a lot of avenues or verticals can be done under agri-tourism activities. For example, if you have a goat farm, only goat farm, I mean, only you have a farm and there is a goat farm there. So in that goat farm, if you call tourists to see the goat farm, so first and foremost, why a tourist has to drink goat milk? What are the values of goat milk, or what are the food values of goat milk? And the goat milk, they can prepare cheese out of goat milks. They can, dahi goat milk करू शकतो. गोट मिल्कचं आपण तूप करू शकतो. तर ह्या व्हॅल्यू ऍडिशन करून तुम्हाला फक्त एक प्रोडक्ट आहे तुमच्याकडे गोट मिल्कचा. आय मीन वन गोट यू हॅव, बट यू हॅव अ डिफरंट व्हरायटीज ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स अवेलेबल. अगेन फॉर एक्झाम्पल, वन मोर वर्टिकल. Let's say, for example, you have a farm equipment museum. Correct? So, in that museum, you will display, for example, one product, नांगर. आपल्याकडे नांगर होता आहे. तर नांगर 100 वर्षापूर्वीचे नांगर कसे होते आणि आताचे नांगर कसे आहेत, आणि मग त्या नांगरामध्ये काय काय डेव्हलपमेंट होत गेली 100 वर्षामध्ये. यू कॅन पुट आवर डिस्प्ले ॲट युअर म्युझियम. इरिगेशन मेथड्स. How irrigation methods have been developed for last 100 years. You can actually display there. Transportation for farmers, how it has been developed in 100 years. Packaging materials, how packaging material of agricultural produce has been. आपल्याकडे पुन्हा तुम्ही लहान असताना तुम्हाला माहिती असेल ते आपल्याकडे कणग्या असायच्या बघा, कणग्या. आणि त्या कणग्या ज्या त्या मला आपण काय म्हणतो, आपण त्याला कावळीचा फोक असतो. कावळीचा एक व्हरायटी असते कावळीची. कावळीच्या व्हरायटीने तो कणग्या तयार करायच्या लहानपणी, आठवतो तुम्हाला. त्याच्यामध्ये मग तो कडुलिंबाचा पाला, गोमूत्र वगैरे टाकून, शेण टाकून त्या कणग्या तुम्ही फुल अशा काय म्हणतो आपण त्याला करून घ्यायच्या, आणि मग त्याच्यामध्ये धान्य साठवायचे. तर ती कन्सेप्ट तुम्ही तिथं दाखवू शकता. तो फार्म इक्विपमेंट्स कॅन बी अ गुड म्युझियम ऍक्टिव्हिटीज. नाव इनोव्हेशन हिअर अंडर द ऍग्रीटुरिझम ऍक्टिव्हिटीज, यू कॅन ब्रिंग इन other farmers in your fold, and you can start your own village brand or the farm brand. For example, you can start your village brand with the rice, with the jawar, with pulses, cereals. You can start your village brand with the vegetables or cash crops, whatever. You can start your brand with crafts from your village, so that entire village can have a ब्रँडेड आयटम्स. अब तुम्ही साधा मातीची बैल तुम्ही ब्रँडेड केले, किंवा समजा बारामती बैल, ते असं छानपैकी विलेज त्याला पॅकेजिंग वगैरे करून बॉक्स मध्ये, जसं अमेझॉन किंवा फ्लिपकार्ट मधून तुम्हाला तो बॉक्स येतो, तर यू कॅन. आमच्याकडे आता भीमथडी जत्रा म्हणून एक पुण्यात खूप फेमस कन्सेप्ट आहे, यू नो दॅट. सो भीमथडी, इन दॅट फेस्टिवल a lot of products comes from different varieties from Maharashtra. Similar you can do for your village. So a lot of innovation can happen in agritourism, from promotion side also and the for experience side also.
Thank you so much, sir. I think rural tourism or agrotourism is such a simple concept, yet so intricate, and it is a wonderful way of actually saving, conserving, preserving and promoting our heritage to not just future generations, but to also for cultural exchange. It is the most pure way of actually getting people together and letting them connect, soulfully to each other.
Yeah, I mean, that is what basically, I mean, as you said, like when in 1 or 2 minutes, I want to talk about the international experience of agritourism. See, in America, all 50 states, their agricultural department, there is a separate officer to develop agritourism in that particular state. In Europe, almost 22 countries, everybody promotes agritourism. As you know, because you have studied in internationally and Italy particularly and London as well. Philippines, a country like Philippines, if you look at the Google map, you will not see Philippines on first go. You have to zoom in, then you will see the Philippines. So that Philippines also has a farm tourism policy, which has been promoted last almost around from 2016 onwards. So if Philippines can understand the value or the importance of agritourism, why not policymaker in India? In India, I was part of that drafting committee for tourism policy 2015. That policy is ready. In that policy, there is a agritourism, what I'm saying is chapter. In that chapter, we have told government how to do agritourism activity. And imagine a surprise that 2015 policy is still not underwent. They is still not launched. In 2018, Government of India has appointed a committee on doubling the farmers' income. In that doubling the farmers' income, there is agritourism chapter of 10 pages. Agritourism can help the double the farmers' income. But still that report is not been done. So if international governments have understood the importance of agritourism, I appeal from my bottom of my heart, policymakers, government officers, please understand the importance of agritourism. Please help farmers to double the income through agritourism. And it is my deep request to you to understand the importance of agritourism now.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. It is, I think, the best way to have a low investment and high returns, and not just returns in terms of money, but it is about also connecting to the people as well as connecting to the nature and connecting back to your roots. We had such a wonderful opportunity to speak with Mr. Pandurang Taure today, and we got so much wonderful insight on this agrotourism topic. And I think it has totally changed the perspective about actually just going to the farms and doing some DIY activities. But I think it will now be something more than that, and getting some valuable experiences which will create wonderful memories throughout the life, and something which will be enriching our life. So I would like to thank you, Mr. Pandurang Taure, for such a wonderful session, and I deeply grateful for this thing, and I would like to have your blessings throughout my career venture. Thank you so much.
Yes, and same here, Dipti. Thank you so much. Thank you, Aniket, for thank you, Soulful Journeys, because all of us, I mean, our objective or our aim is to keep farm in the family and family in the farm. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful listening to you. I think I learned a lot about the economics of farm stays, and how we can, me and Deepti, both of us as tourism individuals, can influence people's decisions to adopt more and more of agritourism. And I'm sure we'll be doing that a lot more in the future.
Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you everyone for watching today, and keep following our Facebook page. And there's a surprise for you on Wednesday. So stay tuned in. Bye bye, and have a good evening. Thank you.